Good afternoon and welcome to The Upside. I'm Jonathan Oleski with JMOR, and this is our virtual show brought to you by the Associated Jewish Federation of Baltimore and JMOR Magazine to keep Jewish Baltimore informed during these times of uncertainty. Now, if you have questions for our guests today, please type them into the Zoom chat or message us at JMOR's Facebook page. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our host today, Beth Goldsmith, Chair of the Associated Jewish Federation of Baltimore. Dr. Scott Rifkin, publisher of JMOR, has the day off. Beth, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and welcome everyone. This year, as we sit down to the first seder on March 27th, we'll be reminded that it's actually our second Passover during a pandemic. Some of us may be able to gather with a few family members. Many of us will still be Zooming in. Even though our seders won't quite resemble those of the past, it doesn't mean they can't be meaningful, fun, and creative. What lessons from the past year could we bring to add meaning to our seders? And how can we make a Zoom seder more engaging? Our guest today is going to have a lot of those answers for us. We are very, very happy to welcome to the show the Executive Director of UMBC Hillel, Jeremy, and of course, I know you, and I guess I just never knew for sure whether it's Fierstein. So tell us quickly how to say that beautiful name.
Thank you, Fierstein.
So Fierstein, I was going to do that, but see, my maiden name ends with that, and I'm a Stein, so just never knew which one you were. I'm going to start the questioning, actually. We're going to have more than 4 questions today, and we're going to start with my co-host today, Jonathan.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Rabbi. So kind of in the spirit of the 4 questions, let's start with the big question that's on everyone's mind. You know, what lessons can we take away from the past year of COVID, which clearly continues? It's our second Pesach, Passover, as Beth referenced. So what lessons can we take away from the past year, and how can we incorporate them into our Seder, especially as we kind of look toward a brighter future? And any thoughts, ideas, what you're recommending to your students, to community members?
So first, I want to thank you all for inviting me. It's an honor to be here with you and whoever is listening out in TV land. So thank you for that. And as always, with March Madness starting, I want to say go Retrievers. We did make history back in the day, and we didn't make the tournament this year, but it's always worth a little school spirit and acknowledgement. Lessons from the past year and incorporating them into the Seder. This is a question many of my colleagues, both in the Hillel world and I think writ large, are trying to answer, as well as all of the wonderful people who will be celebrating the holiday of Passover in another week and change. I think this year for me has been eerily evocative of some of our most cherished biblical stories. Having watched the gallows erected outside of the Capitol reminded me of the Purim story, and my 7-year-old son put 2 and 2 together very quickly as well in that moment. And you know, this experience of a global pandemic and the exploration or the wandering through the wilderness of isolation and social distancing very much feels like we as a global community are experiencing our own Mitzrayim, which in Hebrew is the word used for Egypt in the 5 books, and I like to translate it as dire straits. And so I think, and there's plenty more experiences that we can all point to that I think speak to the biblical history and experience that we all cherish. And from that, I think there's 2 major values. One, I think it's a Jewish value that's also a universal value, and also a UMBC value that I'm holding very, very dear to my heart this year, and I'm hoping to bring into our Passover experience. The Jewish value is chesed, is compassion, both for others and ourselves. And the UMBC value is that of grit. As I mentioned before, go Retrievers, our mascot, his name is True Grit. He's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. And one of the things that the university really appreciates about the students and the staff and faculty and everybody related is the true grit that we all share in pushing through hard times. And I think if we're able to both be compassionate for ourselves, especially ourselves and others, while channeling our inner grit and pushing through these last few months, hopefully we'll be able to truly experience the freedom that the seder, the taste of freedom that the seder tries to bring every year, the experience of Passover. Halach ma'anya, right? The Haggadah says halach ma'anya. This is the bread of affliction. Well, we've all experienced deep affliction, but may we be compassionate enough to recognize our needs and our community's needs and find, hopefully, as our president recently acknowledged, we might have some return to normalcy around July 4th. So fingers crossed, a girl can dream, from your mouth to whoever's listening's ears, that we will be able to get through the next few months and reach that, hopefully, beginning of the new era.
I'm going to jump in there, and thanks, Jeremy. That was really a beautiful tone setting for we should all do a moment of that, I hope, at our first Seder and reflect. And how about, is there anything special you've read or you'd recommend that we read? How about playlists? How about, things to spice it up a little this year?
So UMBC Hillel is going to be hosting a virtual Seder this year as one of our Passover programs. And I fully recognize that virtual is not comfortable for all aspects of the Jewish community. And I think what I'm about to share can be used both virtually, that's how we're going to utilize it, but also in person. There's a really cute deck of cards called chutzpah cards that a friend of mine, a colleague in the Hillel world, sent around. And I purchased a deck for the Seder, and it's kind of like Cards Against Humanity or Apples to Apples, but family friendly and with a Seder twist, values, themes, concepts, characters from the Haggadah and the Exodus story. So I think that's a cute addition, and I'm happy to share any resources with anyone. My information is very public, so feel free to reach out. But I think that's a really nice little addition. Many people I know are very good at utilizing the experiential nature of the Seder as a teaching tool. And I think there are lots of toys and lots of cute tchotchkes and things that we can purchase, certainly for children, that will engage them. And people have been doing it for many years. One of the ones that my neighbor recently, a friend of mine, purchased was a Whack-A-Frog game, which is also kind of adorable. It's perfect for like 5, 7, 10-year-olds to engage them for 20 minutes, a half hour, which is pretty good for a 5, 7, or 10-year-old. So that's another cute one. And then I have, we might get to this later, but I have a handful of Haggadot that I personally like to use to draw from and create, kind of a richer experience to pull from multiple traditions. So I'm happy to share, again, resources as we go.
Jeremy, let's talk about the kids. So your 7-year-old. I mean, it is such a wonderful celebration for children. I know when I was growing up, my parents tried to find many ways to entertain me. We today have a plagues bag with all sorts of cool, fun toys in it. But how do you make it fun for a 7-year-old?
Honestly, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Tell us what you'll be doing differently, say, on the second night when you're not having the Zoom Seder. What will you do?
So I honestly believe the Seder experience itself hardwires the fun and intrigue into it. That's the beauty of the tradition that we continue and inherit and grow and bring modern resources and experience into. So thankfully, it does a lot of that work for us. But my child is very into reading. And so what we've been doing to support that is giving him a wide range of resources to explore. And ideally, and I'm not going to lie, that he goes to Krieger Schechter here in town, and the education that he's getting and the resources he gets there out of this world, and really tie nicely into what we want to do at the Seder. So a lot of what he's doing there he will bring in, and his excitement in sharing all of that usually does the trick, at least the last couple of years. I have a 4-year-old as well, and he's at Goldsmith, and they made an afikomen bag. So he's really excited to share in the afikomen ritual and experience with his bag. So like I said, I think the Seder itself has a lot of that built in. And if we personalize it, if we're able to get our children and anyone else at the Seder, and I'll speak to this in a minute about the UMBC Hillel Seder, if we get them to buy into a piece of it and they really take that on and make it theirs, I think that right there, it piques the interest, it creates buy-in, and you get to learn a lot about them as well. What's interesting to them, what they bring. And I think, for my 7-year-old especially, he really likes the 4 sons, this idea of 4 different people and characters. And we through different Haggadot that I've shared with him, he chooses his favorite depictions of that and usually shares something about them. So that's one way we do it in our family.
Wonderful. Beth?
I love that. And I have to say, I actually got teary-eyed when you were talking about that. I tell the story frequently, but you mentioned Goldsmith, so I'll be proud about it too. When my little boy was at what was then Hizikamuna Nursery School and came home with Shabbos candlesticks that he had made out of egg carton and bottle caps, we started lighting Shabbos candles every Friday night and using those candlesticks. And it's why when Hizikamuna decided to build the schools, we chose to be the benefactors for the nursery school, because we really thought that was where it all started, to bring that home. And I find to this day, if I have, and you have to be good parents of older kids to save all of these things, but that afikoman bag will last you like forever, to have your kid know that you used that, whether it's a matzah cover or a kiddush cup or something that your kids made, just saying that for all the people out there. And it can be shown on Zoom easily. If your kids are not able to be around your table, it will be even more meaningful for them that you are using that special piece that they made perhaps many years ago, if not just now. Okay, I'm supposed to ask another question. You were going to start talking about Haggadahs. So yes, what do you recommend?
Well, I recommend whatever anyone is interested in, and there's a ton to choose from. My personal favorites, I have 3 that I immediately go to. I have 2 with me, and I realized the third one, I think my 7-year-old stole last night to read in bed on his way to sleep. So the first one is A Different Night. This is a Hartman, Shalom Hartman Haggadah that I find really compelling for families. And I mean, for anybody. It's got some really amazing resources. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs has a Haggadah that, Alav Hashalom, before he passed, he wrote a beautiful commentary with some really amazing essays. That's a favorite of mine. And then the one that my son stole is, it's called Haggadah Shel Baba. And Baba is a cartoon character that a friend of mine from Israel created. His name is Shai Cherka. And he's got a whole series of these books. And he tells the story of the Haggadah through his characters. And it's really cute. It's wonderful. He brings in some really amazing midrash. It's all in Hebrew. So, I'm not sure, that's a personal comfort level. But it is one of my personal favorites to use. And the illustrations that he did are amazing for it. So those are my personal favorites, and there's tons to choose from.
Talk a little bit, thank you very much, about, how through Zoom, you're really going to be making the Seder meaningful for the UMBC students, because that is your congregation, our Jewish students and those who are interested in Judaism at UMBC. So what's going to be special or different this year?
So I think this gives us a really interesting and exciting opportunity as Jewish educators to utilize multimedia in a way that has been very uncomfortable in the past, even in liberal communities who aren't necessarily Shomer Shabbat or Shomer Mitzvot in the way that you wouldn't necessarily use electricity, let's say, on Shabbat or the holidays. But because we're kind of forced into it through the pandemic, I think it gives us a really exciting opportunity to explore how to bring in, maybe modern Torah, as I would like to say, as I would like to call it, and utilize things that students are imbibing on the internet without the Jewish lens. We have the opportunity as the educator to bring the Jewish values to what it is they are experiencing on the internet. So we have 2 student presidents this year who are spectacular individuals, and they have signed on to take a portion of the Seder. What we're doing, so really quickly, I'm going to just take a step back and explain how UMBC is going to run the Seder this year. We have, we're going to be doing a short Seder, about an hour is what we're planning. And the expectation is that we're going to have students take on each piece of it or most of it and bring their kind of flair to it and share what they've learned through the experience of UMBC Hillel, the Passover story, and this year, and hopefully tie in some personality character to it. And our two student presidents have decided to take on it, making a Haggadah of memes. For those of you who don't know, memes are pictures with usually words that are irreverent, funny, they're jokes, they're meant to be taken not so seriously. And many, many, many memes exist. And if you just Google it, COVID memes, you'll find puns, and it's worth it for 5 minutes of distraction. So they're going to create a Haggadah of memes, which I think is really adorable, and I'm curious to see what they come up with. So that's just one example. So again, to use the tools that we have in a way that we haven't before to help enrich the experience. Enrich the experience with things that we love. Another piece that I'm a music fanatic. I can't make music to save my life, but I love music. It is a huge piece of my life. So I always believe that song lyrics and songs should be a part of almost anything I do and I create. So I've been looking for songs, especially modern pop songs. And this is going to sound crazy, but I'll tell you that Billie Eilish is one of my new favorite artists because I believe her lyrics are poetry. She is an incredible lyricist. Ariana Grande is another one. And if those names don't mean anything to you, Google them. There are some really great new songs out there. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to try and bring in. And my kids also are into this. So it's not just for the UMBC Jewish community. My kids and their friends also appreciate the music and other multimedia experiences. The other thing I'll throw out there is the best seders I've ever been to are the ones that begin with a cocktail. And I recognize that it's hard to mix drinks for your neighbor over Zoom, but one of the things that for the second night we're planning on doing potentially with some family is to have kind of a seder cocktail that we'll all share together. And that might be another, again, bridging the gap, trying to break out of the box that we're stuck in a little bit and have a shared communal experience.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Well, I know last week we had, if you haven't seen it, you can always go back and see it now, either on Facebook or on YouTube. Last week when we had our wine expert on,
Kenny.
And Kenny talked about, and I was sort of thinking, my gosh, after four glasses of wine, if you drink a full glass, then he started talking about the wine pairings. So white with the gefilte fish, and then a red with the brisket. So however you're going about it, I think if you make sure exactly that everyone is sort of on the same page that way and has access. I also love the musical reference. My favorite part of seders was always big family seders. My sister-in-law used to bring song sheets. She had a whole packet that we passed out, and we would sit for a good half an hour and sing, and a lot of them were just fun songs to tunes we knew about the story, whatever. And that's something you can do from afar as well. You just need to, email them to your family ahead of time, and you can still have the old, Jewish sing-along.
So I have a question for both Jeremy and Beth, because look, a seder is all about amazing food. It really is. So Rabbi, let's start with you. What's your favorite part of the seder when it comes to the meal?
Ooh, so when I'm not with either set of parents, my kids pretty much demand matzah pizza as the seder food of choice. Back in the day, I would have said brisket. My mother's brisket is one of the best I've ever had. So I would have said brisket, and obviously chicken noodle soup or matzo ball soup, whatever you prefer to put in your soup. My uncle always had the best addition. He would add a teaspoon of horseradish in his matzo ball soup, and I appreciate that.
I like that. Thank you. Beth, what's your favorite part of the seder
meal?
Well,
I'm going to back up one little step to say that the good news this year is that I have access to food and to the seder plate items, which I didn't. Last year, my seder plate had little taped on pictures of karpas and more. And because there wasn't a place I could get to get those things. And so I literally, scotch taped pictures to a regular plate. My seder plate for my retreat here in Boca Raton is on its way. I did purchase one this year, knowing I'd be down here again. And so I really love the plate the most is my sort of thing. So I sort of love when we do like the dipping. I guess I've had so many different types of food at seders because truthfully, back in the day, it used to be at my house. It used to be catered when it was at my house. And so we always had chicken and brisket. I'm a brisket girl. So, I would say that. But I think I've evolved over time with different things, like when the first time I ever was able to make the corrosive with my kid, probably that year, that was my favorite thing to then eat and pass out to everyone because he had helped make it and understand, what it meant. So yeah, it's an evolving taste, but give me a piece of meat, I'm always happy.
Oh, how funny. How funny. So Beth, other questions for the rabbi?
Well, we've talked about a lot of stuff. I really want to, I guess, turn it over to you, Jeremy, and say, what else should we know? What other little secret? Do you have a Zoom secret or anything else you want to share with us? And for sure, before you wrap up, we want your contact information so people can pick your brain further.
Absolutely. So I think one of the other things we're doing for our students, and you mentioned being in a little bit of like a Passover food desert, it sounds like, Beth. Our students are scattered. Most of them are not on campus this year. Actually, most of them are rarely on campus. We only have 4,000 beds on a campus of 13,500 students. So we are very much a commuter school. And what we're doing this year, because we usually stock the Hillel space with Passover snacks and food for anyone who needs and is interested to partake, we're offering gift cards to Oh Nuts, which is a lovely company in New York that puts together really beautiful Passover packaging and food, and they have really great resources, Seder plates, things. So we're offering our students gift cards to purchase through Oh Nuts Passover, whatever they need for their Passover experience. And ideally, they're going to use that at the Zoom Seder. So if you have family who are afar that need such items, that is a nice opportunity for you to either send them, there's a number of websites. We just picked Oh Nuts because of previous experience with them. But a number of websites that really put together beautiful Passover things that you can either purchase for people or send them to. And then I think the best way to make it meaningful is to put your personality into it, whoever's leading, and also open it up to the floor. I really believe, as I mentioned before, that the Seder experience is hardwired for intrigue and interest. And it's one of the things that Jewish tradition has given us that really holds true, that we are very good at experiential and informal education. And this is the exact moment in our calendar year where we take that to the next level. So I would urge everyone to bring a little bit of themselves into their Seder and invite your Seder guests to do the same. Happy to serve as a resource. Always, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is very simple. It's rabbijeremy@umbc.edu. You can also find all of my contact info on the Hillel at UMBC website, which is hillel.umbc.edu. And plenty of people in the Associated know how to get in touch with me as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we're on it.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, I guess if we don't have any other questions from the crowd, and Jeremy, you mentioned at the beginning about how many people see it. Not that many people watch us live, but then everyone talks about it. And we have anywhere from 1,000 to several thousand people who usually tune into these shows. So it's a pretty big deal, and your energy, I think, will help a lot of people. So thank you, Rabbi Fierstein, for being with us today. And I always say attitude is everything, and yours is so positive and so energized that I really think it makes a difference. And that's exactly what you're suggesting we all do, is just bring ourselves fully to the event. So again, thank you for being here today. I want to remind everyone, as you do make your plans, you can check out associated.org/Passover. There's recipes, craft ideas, Zoom conversation starters, and a whole lot more. And we will not be seeing you next Tuesday, March 23rd. We're taking a spring break. But I'm going to let Jonathan tell you about our exciting March 30th show.
Yep. So after Pesach has begun, we'll all join back here on Tuesday, March 30th. And we have a special guest, Maryland's United States Senator Chris Van Hollen will be joining us to talk about the federal effort to combat COVID, which is still very much on the top of all of our minds as everyone is waiting patiently to get vaccinated. So mark your calendars for Tuesday, March 30th. Beth, why don't you go ahead and wrap us up?
Awesome. So thank you. So we'll see you all again, hopefully on the 30th of March. And in the meantime, as always, feel free, please visit associated.org and jmoreliving.com. There's always information and stories and resources, and sign up for the weekly newsletter. And until we do meet again, happy Pesach, and please stay well.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Rabbi.